Hi everybody, how's everybody doing? This is Mrs. Carlton and we are going to continue with our Pythagorean stuff today. This is our last lesson on Pythagorean theorem. It's from section 7.5 in the textbook, found on page 320. So if you have your textbook at home, you can open up to that page, or remember you can go to bigideasmath.com and log in with Clever to get the textbook online, okay? What we're doing today is something called Converse of Pythagorean theorem. Okay, this is converse of Pythagorean theorem. Now, section 7.5 is split up into two different parts. So we're going to do one part now. The other part is about distance, and we'll work on that next week. Okay? So on page 320, what you'll notice is that there's a definition about the converse of Pythagorean theorem. It's under the key ideas. It says, if an equation a squared plus b squared equals c squared is true for the side lengths of any triangle, then you know that triangle is a right triangle. Okay, so that's basically the converse idea. So let's write this out and then we'll talk about it and do some examples. If the equation a squared plus b squared equals c squared is true for the side lengths of a triangle. Oops, I spelled that wrong. And this of actually, let's do any of any triangle, then you know the triangle is a right triangle. Okay, so basically it's like a way to test a triangle to see if it's a right triangle or not. You plug it into Pythagorean theorem and see if it works. If it works, then it is a right triangle. If it doesn't work, then it's not a right triangle. And this is important because sometimes it will look like a right triangle, but the angle might not be exactly 90 degrees. It might be 89 or 91. It might be close, but in order for it to be exact, it has to be 90. So looking at example 1 in the textbook, let's do question A first. Here's our triangle, so go ahead and draw this picture. You can pause the video if you need to. And we have a 9 here, and a 40 here, and a 41. So this time they're giving us all three sides. We don't have to find anything missing, but we have to try to determine if this is a right triangle or not. It appears that it is, but there's no box here, so we don't know for sure if that's a 90-degree angle or not. So we're going to test it out using our Pythagorean theorem. They give us the hypotenuse, which is C. Remember, A and B are the two legs, which are the ones that we think are connected to that right angle. So let's start off with those two legs. So 9 squared plus 40 squared will equal 41 squared. Okay, so now let's simplify. 9 squared is 81. You're going to need your calculator today, so if you don't have it, grab it. 40 squared is 1,600. And 41 squared is 1,681. So far I've just taken all three of those things and simplified them. So we can combine these two together. 81 plus 1,600 equals 1,681. And over here I have 1,681. Is that a true statement? Yes, that is true, that this side equals this side. So we would say, yes, it's a right triangle. It's a right triangle. Okay, so these are going to be all yes and no questions. So basically, like we're testing it out to see if Pythagorean theorem works. Okay, let's try B. Okay, B is another triangle that looks like maybe it's a right triangle, but we don't know for sure because there's no right angle box. This side is 18, this side is 12, and this side is 24. Okay, so we're guessing that this is the angle that's going to be the right angle. So across from that is our hypotenuse. And remember, always the longest one has to be your hypotenuse, your C. So these two are the legs. So let's start off with that. 18 squared plus the other leg is 12 squared, and it should be equal to 24 squared. We're going to test it and see if it works. So now let's simplify everything. Once again, you're going to need your calculator. 18 squared equals 324. And 12 squared is 144. And 24 squared is 576. Okay, so at this point, we can add these two together, combine them, and 324 plus 144 equals 468. Over here, we ended up with 576. So is that a true statement? No, this is not true. It's a false statement. Therefore, we would say this is not, no, it's not a right triangle. Okay, so basically you're just testing the Pythagorean theorem to see if it works. The hardest part is setting up this first step. You have to be careful and make sure that you put the right sides for the legs, and the hypotenuse is always the longest. Okay, so let's try the Oyos. The Oyos are the on your owns, remember. They're still on the same page, so let's do Oyos. Gosh, my phone is busy today. All right, Oyos, let's do number 1. And if you don't have your book, I'm going to write them out for you. They don't give us a picture. It's just a list of measurements. And you'll see that a lot in the worksheets also. So the first measurement for Oyo 1 is 28 inches. The second measurement, 21 inches. And 20 inches. Okay. And number 2. First one is 1.25 millimeters, 1 millimeter, and 0.75 millimeters. Okay, so what we have to remember is we don't know when it's a list like this which one are the legs, which one are the hypotenuse, except for one fact. You have to remember C is the longest. Okay, so C is always going to be the longest one. So when you look at this list of numbers in number 1, I can easily see that this is going to be C, and in number 2, this is going to be C. So when you set them up, make sure that you put those as your C. All right, go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and try those two. Okay, let's see how you did. So the first one, we're going to use this as a leg, this as a leg, okay? These two are legs, and this is my C. And it doesn't matter which number you use for A or B, they're interchangeable. So we have 21 squared plus 20 squared equals 28 squared. So we're going to test this and see if it works. 21 squared equals 441. 20 squared equals 400. And 28 squared equals 784. All right, so now when we combine these two, we get 841. And over here, we had 784. So was that true? No, those two things are not equal. So the answer is no, it's not a right triangle. Okay, number 2, this was a leg, this is a leg, so this one has to be the hypotenuse. It's the longest. Remember, that's what you have to identify before you set it up. So let's do 1 squared plus 0.75 squared equals 1.25 squared. All right, using our old calculator here, 1 squared is 1. 0.75 squared equals 0.5625. And 1.25 squared equals 1.5625. So now let's combine these two together and I get 1.5625. And over here I have 1.5625. So are these things equal? Yes, they are. This one is true. Those two things are equal. So we would say, yes, this one is a right triangle. Okay? So you're just doing yes or no questions for these, for the triangles. All right? So let's look at our planner for the week. So today is Wednesday, May 13th, or it might be Thursday, May 14th, depending on when you watch the video. It's completely up to you when you watch the video, as long as all of your work is done by Friday. So let's see, we already did the first thing, which was watch the video and take notes. Next thing you want to do is pick a worksheet. I have a few to choose from. Pick a worksheet, complete it and check it. Okay, there is a quizzes game that you can play for extra practice. And last, your point for this lesson will be on the self-assessment. Okay, so 4 things for you to do this week. So remember, you can do them on Wednesday or the same thing on Thursday. Now, we do have a quiz because we're kind of done with learning about Pythagorean theorem. We're going to finish section 7.5 and do distance formula, but that's different than Pythagorean theorem. It uses Pythagorean theorem, but it's slightly different. So I'm going to post this quiz on Wednesday, okay, today, later today. You can do it Wednesday through Friday, any one of those days. It's a Google form, so it will be found in that classroom section, or classwork, sorry. So this week under classwork, you're going to have the self-assessment for lesson 4 and the quiz for lesson 4. It will be 10 points, and it's going to cover our sections from chapter 7. So squares and square roots, finding missing hypotenuse, finding missing leg, story problem, and then what we did today, the yes or no's. They call that the converse of Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so that's going to be on the quiz, 10 points. And I think I have it set up so you get your score at the end, but I'm not 100% sure. You guys can let me know, and if not, I can play around with it. Remember, we have a meeting on Thursday, okay, and 2 o'clock for hours 1, 5, and 6, 2:30 for hours 3 and 4. That way Mr. Webster can join us. Those meetings are optional, but it is nice to see each other and just kind of check in and say hi. If you have any questions, that's also a good time to ask questions, especially if you want to do that before you take the quiz. Okay? All right. Have a great week. Don't forget, if you ever have any questions, comments, or concerns, just send me an email and I'll get right back with you. All right. See you guys later.